see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get any?
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Coast to Coast. I am your host, Pags, back in from Florida and doing my thing the right way here now, back at home. And I'm with Bo. Jay may not. StatGuy may not. Lots going on today. Starting with, we might as well start with baseball has begun, even though it's a world away. Yeah, the Padres and the Dodgers playing in Korea. And obviously they're playing some other things too, or at least some interpreters are.
Yep.
You tell me what you know about it, because I only just heard about this.
Yeah, so I mean, there's not tons of information about it. The storyline has kind of changed. In every scenario, it was his interpreter that was doing some gambling. Originally, the story came out as Ohtani paid off some debts for him. But then there's also a spin on the story that says that he stole the money. In every scenario, the guy got fired. So there's that. But so yeah, I mean, there's competing stories, so not entirely sure what's accurate at this point.
So I guess my question becomes, all right, so there's this gambling thing that's happening. You know, somebody's gambling.
Yep.
Is the debt still owed?
Not that I'm aware of.
So that's been paid off one way or another.
One way or
whether
another.
It was legally or illegally.
Correct.
The debt has been paid. So, and it was a hefty debt of $4.5 million, from what I understand.
Yeah. So, needless to say, he wasn't good at gambling.
No, it does not sound he was very good at all. But
yeah, unfortunately, the storylines, they've kind of branched in different directions. So not really sure what exactly has happened so far, other than his interpreter did gambling, was bad at it, and it got paid off somehow. But well, not somehow. It came from Ohtani one way or the other, whether it was him paying willingly or the money got stolen one way or the other. It
okay,
which
brings me back to another statement. So ultimately, they are using, and I say they being, obviously the interpreter is fired. They need a new interpreter.
Sure.
I assume that guy is, somebody different. And they needed a new one anyways, because now there's two people to interpret. So it's probably best to have somebody, one guy, two jobs. You know what I mean? You're not going to have one with one and one with the other. I mean, unless it's in the contract that way. But ultimately, how much of the possibility do you think it is that Ohtani was gambling?
I mean, you have to kind of think that was the case, right? Like, he was just like, hey, do these deals for me, right? Like that. Otherwise, why would this get as much traction, right? So
I agree.
Yeah, I would think that there ultimately was some involvement there. We'll see, as the investigation continues, how tightly he gets grouped into it, or maybe maybe this guy's just the fall guy. Maybe maybe that's just how it's going to go down.
Yeah.
700 million reasons why you need a fall guy.
No, I get that. Trust me, I get that. But also, it becomes now, 700 million reasons almost on the opposite way of saying, hey, is this guy really a gambler? You know what I mean? Are we able to get out of this contract this way because of that?
I mean, you know, I, I suppose you could do that. Yeah, we're back to bad weather. What's up, Chad?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I hope that the language barrier and the fact of who this guy is doesn't interfere with an investigation to find out that he quite possibly was the one gambling.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just because he's a great baseball player. We've had a great baseball player gamble. Who did
right.
we happen?
Famously, in fact.
So it makes me wonder. I really do wonder if this is a for real thing. Like in terms of, okay, are we really going to say that? All right, this is him. Here he is. Voila. And I don't know. I don't know. Just saying. It's just this sounds a little hokey.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is if he wasn't, it seems like this has a lot of media attention if he's not involved, right? Like if it really was just his interpreter, but it seems like a crazy amount of press for it if that's all it was, right? That would be like an intern gambling in the NFL, right?
So in the process of this, because now you have somebody who is an absolute hero in
Sure.
Japan
Yeah.
to maybe find out that this is occurring here. Now, I'm going to be very ridiculous when I say this. My knowledge of Japanese culture comes from the Karate Kid. So,
Okay.
I mean, that sounds as ridiculous as that sounds, but that's it. That's what I know of it. So
Sure.
I am not going to claim to be an expert in any of that. Just being 100% honest.
Yeah.
The amount of blowback that could come in a real sense because you are now possibly, at least even looking at him as doing something wrong.
Yeah.
What type of response? I mean, if you're Major League Baseball, because it's only Major League Baseball, it's not guys, this guy's not getting arrested.
No.
He's not going to go to jail for any of this. He would just be.
I mean, the other guy might.
Well, you're right, but he's just going to be dishonored. Like
Sure.
it's going to be again, this is honor is a big deal in the Karate Kid. So I mean, but that's kind of what I'm saying now. I'm like, as I think about this, and I'm trying to figure this out. Like, is it, how bad could this be? How bad could this turn?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a bad look no matter how it goes. So, I mean, there is that. It doesn't help that Otani, as of now, hasn't put out a response. Right, he's failed to comment. Now, some of that might be because his interpreter got fired, but
As
I'd
funny
like to
as that
comment, but I
sounds.
can't. So
Let me tell you, there's somebody else who knows how to speak English and Japanese. You know what I mean? Let's face it.
You would think so.
I mean, I even with all the different dialects, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I got to imagine that just because he's got an accent doesn't mean that the words have changed tremendously.
Exactly. Exactly.
The same we speak the same English as they do in the hills of North Carolina, and I can't understand them much, but I can kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I got to
Yep.
imagine that this is the same thing here, like that they got to figure this out, and it's probably good that they started overseas here a little bit, where it's not
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah,
Like
it gives
that,
them a little bit of time to figure out how it is they want to spin this story, especially since when it comes out, there's already two versions, right? They're going to have to figure out which version they want to run with. So it sounds like they do have some lawyers involved or going to be involved soon. So, this is going to be a story for a little while because there's just not a lot of sports news going on. So this one's definitely going to dominate the headlines for a minute.
I say for about 5 more days
Yeah,
when actual baseball begins.
exactly. Although, I mean, Yamamoto getting absolutely smoked in his first appearance is, it's going to garner some headlines as well, being a $300 million prospect and getting just tattooed from the jump. He gives up 5 runs in 1 inning. I think the number was a 45 ERA. So killing it.
Well, did he even get out of the inning, or I thought he was
He
pulled?
did. Yeah, no,
Okay.
it looks like it went down as a 1 inning, 5 earned runs, and 2 strikeouts and a base on balls. So I mean,
I would have put him back out there. Why pull him after that? After the 5 runs, listen, I not for nothing, bad move by the Dodgers. Again,
sure.
assuming that the guy had some nerves. It's the first time pitching in a brand new league.
Yep.
In another country completely. Like, you just got used to being in Japan, and now guess what? We're going to start our first game in Korea. Not that he has never been in Korea. I'm sure he's probably pitched there at some point too. You know what I mean?
doubt.
But I don't know that for a fact. And I don't know like kind of what the story is over there, but
Yep.
I mean, ultimately, I'd throw him back out there again. I mean, we have seen him in preseason, and the guy can pitch. So maybe I would have blamed it on nerves.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. He's going to get another, he's going to get back out there. Like that's not going to be the problem. Just a rough showing for your debut, right?
Right. It's like, hey, he's not going to get the no hitter in the first time out.
Definitely not.
So, Teresa, no offense to Paris Campbell, but that is definitely non-radar stuff material there. He's not going to even make the team. Brad, thanks for checking in. This I did want to say. Obviously, Snell going to the Giants for $62 million. Does that even put the Giants in any bit of relevancy? I mean,
No.
I'm trying to figure out oh, we're just going to have him there, and we think that we have the team. I mean, they have a new manager over there now, right? They got rid of old coconut oil guy. You know what I mean? He was the Phillies manager here, and
Okay.
yep, he then went out there, and he was just a weirdo guy. He was a weirdo guy. Definitely, I have to imagine that it's probably more accepted nowadays in that type of environment. But he was very metrosexual, is how I put that across the board. Very, very intelligent in baseball, but lived and died by, analytics. And you cannot live and die by analytics. You just cannot do it.
Yeah.
And you learn it will win you some games where the Giants, he did win 104 games with the Giants and won the division and then lost in the first round.
Yeah, no, analytics is a tool. The fact that people use it to figure out all of their decisions, that's where it doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Well, and that's what he did tremendously. He won a lot of games in the regular season. He actually did okay here, although he didn't even make the playoffs. He did make the playoffs with the Giants. And once you see that it's not the end all be all as a player, I think it actually it's the start of your demise as a manager.
I gotcha.
Because when the players start to say, yeah, it's not all about the analytics, then that means they're not buying in anymore. And ultimately it's going to start to turn. There's going to be more losses than wins because of the analytics. It's going to be in spite of things. So
absolutely. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of connection issue here. I'm going to jump out real quick and jump back in.
All right.
see if I can stop from freezing up constantly.
All right. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about Lorenzen signing with the Texas Rangers. I tell you again, Lorenzen was great for one game with the Phillies. One game. Gets traded to the Phillies. He pitches a no-hitter against Washington. That was the one game. Awesome. Great work out of that one game. He got lit up there afterwards. He was just nonstop getting beat all the time. And, they couldn't even use him in the playoffs. So, him going to the Texas Rangers, obviously, he's going to he'll probably be a bullpen guy. He's probably going to be that fifth starter over there, somebody who could try to eat up some innings because that's what they're going to need to do with him. Like I said, he was okay with Detroit. He came to Philadelphia, had that one great game, first game, woohoo, lights out, no hitter, and then proceeded to get hit a lot. 54% of your games. So listen, there's somebody that I spoke to about this, much smarter than me in baseball. You're going to win 60, you're going to lose 60. It's what you do with the other 42 that's going to determine how great your season is.
True.
And that's what it is. That's it. Every team's going to win 60. There are some exceptions, obviously. Most you could probably take the under with Oakland or Vegas or wherever they're playing at right now. That's about it. I don't see any other team that's going to be under 60 wins. Getting over 100 wins is pretty crazy.
48.
Not losing 60 games is also a really big deal. If you win 103 games, wow. I mean, that means you've done something right. But that also does not mean that you're going to win a World Series. There's been a number of 100-win teams. In fact, there's been more 100-win teams that have not won the World Series than have won the World Series.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like the 2001 Mariners, 116 games, first round meltdown. Right.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the
record
best of five.
No.
The best of five is the worst. That's the one thing I do not like. I like best of 7 series.
Yep.
I would go as far as to say, when it comes to the Braves hate playing the Phillies in a best of 5 series.
Sure.
That they need the best of 7 series to play. Not that it's going to do anything for them. I think that the result would still be the same because for some reason or another, when it comes down to it, the Braves just have a problem with Philly. The Phillies got their number when games that really, really matter, Philly has got their number. So, not that I think that opening day, I think opening day we could lose to the Braves. We could almost get swept by the Braves and it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Because when it comes down to the end, we're going to win those games in the playoffs. I just don't think the Braves have a playoff-bound team. So, and some teams are made for the playoffs. Some teams are made for the regular season. The Braves are a regular season team.
Yep.
Now I know they've won. They did win that one year.
Yep.
They beat Houston, and I really want to say that wasn't that was the year after COVID, right? Or was that the COVID year?
I guess I don't remember offhand.
Because I remember them making a lot of trades at the trade deadline. And it's, and that's kind of how they won it because they traded their whole outfield. They had a whole new outfield and came back and won that game. It had to have been, maybe had to be the year after COVID. Yeah, I agree with that. There is a psychological advantage. They hate playing here. You have the pitcher saying it out loud. Whenever somebody says something out loud like that, I'd rather them not be out in the stands. I'd rather not play Patrick Mahomes. Like anytime a player says that means they are in his head. End of story. You're going to lose that game. So, just my opinion on that. You having a problem with Xfinity over there? Do I need to call
Man,
the big
for real.
dick in the sky here?
It's a rough morning, I guess, which makes no sense at all. So this is super helpful.
You got to get the business. We got to get you that Cat 6 cable to go right from the router to your computer.
Yeah, I mean that is going to happen. So the place that we just moved into, there is some weirdness to it. That the only jack coming in is in a closet for I don't know why. And so ultimately I'll end up running coax directly into where, my office here is. So it'll get better. Obviously today's not that day, but the fact that everything has to run from that closet is stupid.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where they put stuff just to hide it all from everything, and then you'd have to run it. So I don't like. It's one of those things where you have to run it, and you have to have the repeaters like up in the ceilings.
Yeah,
Just
so I will ultimately have that. I'll probably actually hardwire the computer, but even the TV, like there's not a jack in the living room.
got you.
So it's just it's a bizarre layout. It's a 1930s tiny little house. So it wasn't exactly put together with electronics in mind.
You mean they didn't have the internet back in the 1930s? Wow,
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Who knew? So yeah, no, but apparently this morning we're having a little bit of a struggle with the Wi-Fi. But yeah, once I get things moved around and I actually get my commercial equipment in here that I have repeaters and all of that, it should get a lot better.
Understood. And we may even have stat guy may be checking in here any minute from
the wings.
Yeah, from Buffalo Wild Wings, I assume in Detroit. I think
he's still there, right?
I mean, I'm going to take that guess since he said he was going to be in Detroit, covering the games and such. And now I know that you moved and haven't been able to do a bracket.
Yeah.
And the bracket started today. I just did mine, this morning. I was like, let me do this. So great game by the Phillies yesterday. I didn't even see what the Phillies did. I got to imagine you're talking smack to me on this.
You would.
See, I don't believe him. I'm saying
exactly.
yeah, it was 13-4.
Okay.
It's preseason. That's what I'm talking about. You keep worried about the preseason there. Yeah, because your Yankees stink, your Mets stink, all the New York teams blow. It's okay. It's okay. You're gonna watch me in the playoffs, having a great time, while you're sitting there almost, already out of it.
Already out of it.
Yeah, you won a meaningless game that's not going to matter in a week, but that's good.
It already doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's why I said I knew firsthand that he was going to. That was a tag. Oh, 13-4. Ooh, big deal. Hold on. What did we do the day before? Oh, we tied with the Tigers the day before. We beat the Yankees 2 days beforehand. So how about that? Yeah, you didn't mention about that. We beat you guys that day.
Hey, I'm just happy that my Mariners are still tied for first place. It'll be the only time this season.
Exactly. They are going to lead at the end of the Cactus League.
Oh, no, not that. I mean for the regular season, because it hasn't started yet. No, they're getting mopped up in the Cactus League.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I heard that they did win a game.
They won a few.
See, it's
they started out like 1-9 or something though. So I mean, like it wasn't good.
Paul, don't even give him that. Yeah. First off, that's Mac. It's not Linda. So he's just hiding behind Linda. So it's definitely Mac that's talking because Linda doesn't talk smack like that. Don't worry, they didn't even win the preseason championship. They're not even in first place in the Grapefruit League. So I wouldn't worry about it. The Mets do one thing really well. They mess it up. The Yankees already have lost.
No, actually, all things being equal, the Mariners down the stretch of preseason actually did okay.
Yeah, there you go. See, I haven't even looked at. I don't even look at what this because you have to include ties in baseball. The Phillies have
Right.
tied like 3 of the last 5 games or something like that because they don't do extra innings in spring training. Why bother? So, and when you have a single A pitcher pitching up against major league talent, because that's exactly what he said he was doing right now. He's putting these single and double A pitchers up against major league talent because he wants to see where they're at. He wants to see so that okay, you got this working now. You've got up to this point so that when it comes time to August, I get to see how well you've improved.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, Garrett Cole isn't even. That's just a part of their problems. The Yankees' problem is they don't have real good leadership. It's like you could think that Judge is the leader on that team, but the Judge is not. Judge is not Derek Jeter, and I think that they're trying to make him Derek Jeter, and I don't think Judge is built that way. I think Judge is built to do some good things. Like this is Harper's team, and Harper does it somewhat quietly. Like he does it, but he's somewhat quiet about it because Schwarber does a lot of the talking. So I feel like it's the same exact the opposite way as well. I think that Judge is not very good at being the captain of the team. I think that starts to put undue stress on him. You need him to do what he does best, hit home runs, and he does hit home runs.
He does hit
But
home runs.
you know, beyond that, I don't know. There's got to be somebody else that's the vocal leader of that team. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, other than that, there hasn't really been much else going on in the world of sports. I tell you, it has been a fairly boring, you know,
Yeah,
time.
it's a slow week for sure. Because I mean, most of your big free agent moves have happened. Anybody get
They freeze up again.
man. This is going to be a frustrating morning, I can tell. But yeah, so most of the big free agents have already moved. Anybody signed now isn't going to be a big deal. Um, you're kind of in that couple of weeks of just real slow sports news, barring somebody getting drunk and running into something in Vegas. That'll get some play. Uh, obviously this gambling thing will get some notoriety because there's just nothing else going on. None of the games really matter yet as far as baseball is concerned. So
So, I'm just now looking as I'm going through and I'm like, okay, I want to see what the line was. But I come to with this Yamamoto,
okay,
and that's who I'm going. I'm going back to talk about him for a little bit.
sure.
Uh, he struggled in spring training, going 8.38 ERA and 9 and 2/3 innings. Now this guy's got a 10-year, a 12-year, $325 million contract.
Yep.
25 years old. That means he's going to be pitching until he's 37 years old. I, I mean, I understand why they had to pay so much money because why? How are you going to get him over here? And then you got to pay off everybody over there in Japan.
Sure.
It becomes a really costly thing to do here. How much leeway time you think he's going to get? And when I say that, because anytime somebody gets traded, you have to adjust. And I got to imagine you're leaving your home country to come over here to the United States. You don't even know how to speak the language that well. And now you have to adjust. And now you're playing with a whole bunch of teams. Thank God you got somebody who actually speaks your language, in the dugout there so that you can talk to somebody rather than
Yeah,
having to
right.
just talk to your interpreter who's making bets behind your back. I mean, ultimately, it's how much time do you think he really gets?
He gets at least 3 years at a minimum because of the dollar figure attached to it.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be stuck either way. It's like, yeah, they're
No,
gonna
and
pay
that's
him.
I mean, unless every timeout is like this. So now I have the official numbers in front of me. So it was 1 inning pitched, 5 earned runs, 4 hits, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. So that's a horrible debut. But the thing is unless he is doing that every time he comes out, he's going to get some time. If he's doing that, then yeah, they'll just be like, okay, I guess we messed up. But
Right.
but I mean, if he comes out and plays okay, like it doesn't even have to be great. Like if he plays okay because of how much they're paying him, he's gonna be on that team for a minute.
Well, I figure, like I said, I almost give this year a wash.
Yes.
That this year is going to be a tough year for him across the board.
Yep.
But then, after that, like I don't know if you give him 3 years. I mean, you don't have a choice. You got to give him 3 years, but
Yeah. Well, I
I'm
mean, yeah,
definitely going to
'cause
give him.
you're paying him for 12, right? So I mean, I
Can't
figure
have 25% of that contract go to waste.
yeah. So I mean, I figure 3 years is kind of that. If you don't see measurable improvement, then I feel like you have to move on. But if you see improvement, then they probably keep rocking with him. But like this year, like you said, this is going to be a wash. There's just going to be a lot of learning, changing leagues, changing countries. There's just going to be a lot to take in. Next year, you're going to want to see a jump in whatever his gameplay is. Plus, in theory, Ohtani will be able to pitch again to some degree next year. So, the next 3 years, I think he's definitely a lock for this roster. Beyond that, unless he has improved every year, then it becomes a little bit questionable.
Well, yeah, and that's. I mean, the one thing about baseball is that you're stuck either way. That's guaranteed money. So,
Guaranteed money. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, if I could get 325 million and I mean, I can probably go put up a 45 ERA. I could probably make that happen. I wouldn't get the strikeouts, but I guarantee you in 1 inning, I could give up 5 runs.
I might even do better.
Right. I bet I could overachieve. I bet I could get 100 ERA, and the outs that I would get would be somebody just didn't square up on the ball enough, and my fielders bailed me out.
Exactly. You just pitch it where it's the backspin. Throw the backspin. Make that throw that the right way. I've been trying to work on. I always thought throwing a baseball, you threw it a very specific way, where it's just do it this way. I'm learning now that you could throw a baseball so many different ways there that you never think about because I was never a pitcher.
Yeah.
I learned how to throw a very specific way. I'm going to throw it that way every time. Mm-hmm. Pitchers pitch it a whole different way. So I threw a baseball, and I think I may have thrown my very first slider ever. It didn't have a lot of movement, and it was a little funny to throw because you've never thrown it before. But there it was. I threw it, and it actually did what a slider was supposed to do. And I'm like, wow, that's not bad for a 35-mile-per-hour slider.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though, is finger placement matters a lot, depending on what it is you're trying to do with the ball, because you're getting that spin. And, rotational speed matters. So, it's very different when you're watching finger placement for a pitcher. Because to your point, like I played outfield, right? Like a lot of times I was a center fielder. And so you were, just wide stance because you're trying to get the most amount behind it and get it the furthest you can.
Right. That is correct. And Robert, yes, bet. That's a bet.
Here
Robert.
We go.
Yeah, we're going to save that.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I think that it's, so it was interesting when I was watching somebody, and I don't know where I was watching it, but just how you could do, so he made like an okay sign on the side and used the other 2 fingers. I'm like, that's how you throw a slider. That's what that is, so learning things, even at my age, I'm getting ready to, take the mound for the over 60 league in about 9 years. So I got to get ready, start working on that. Truth of the matter is I can't catch up to a 50-mile-per-hour fastball now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I play
60,
slow pitch softball.
60 is about where I was. Beyond 60 is where I had a real hard time picking the ball up. And then for me, the pitch I just could never lay off of. I could never lay off a slider because it looks like money until about 4 feet before the plate. So you're already like getting ready to come and you're just like, oh, dang. My best power, though, if it was a like a high outside fastball, that I could put in the parking lot all day. But if you gave me a slider or anything like that, like I just, for whatever reason, could not lay off a slider.
So this Jordan Montgomery, I feel that he's going to wind up going to the Yankees. I do believe he's going to sign. But I don't think he's going to wait. I think the one so Pedro, when he did that in 2009, this isn't football. And Pedro was a very unique guy, and the Phillies needed help, to be able to get into the playoff run there. But ultimately, I don't think, I can't see him waiting. I think that most pitchers right now have to pitch in the regular season, or else they're not going to be able to do anything in the playoffs. So, and here we'll welcome StatGuy, fresh from. Are you at Buffalo Wild Wings?
No, I'm driving there right now. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Okay. He's on his way to Buffalo Wild Wings.
I'm like,
pick me up some wings.
I'm like 23 minutes from the closest one, so I gotta find one.
Oh, you could have just went to a normal bar. It didn't matter. You
Hell
didn't have to
no.
go to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Hell no.
Hell no.
There you go. Since Buffalo Wild Wings is our unofficial sponsor,
That's
I'm
right.
waiting for the officialness to come through. At least we're going to support them every way that we can here. So, StatGuy, since you are the only other one that filled out a bracket,
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to come on. Who do you have as your winner?
I have Houston beating Illinois.
Huh. That's actually kind of interesting.
Mainly because I think Illinois played exceptional during the Big Ten tournament. I think they actually opened up a lot of eyes for how they played during the Big Ten tournament, especially kind of when you looked at how much they were struggling in February, and then all of a sudden they turned it around, and then you got Houston. You can make the case that Houston and UConn were the two best teams in the country all season. I think Houston has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder for how they ended up falling in the NCAA tournament last year, and I think they used that to their advantage this year.
Huh. Who's your Final Four, now that I got to ask?
I got Arizona against Illinois on the one side, with Illinois knocking off Arizona. And then I have Houston against McNeese State. McNeese State is my big Cinderella team that I have.
Huh. Now, I have McNeese losing to Kansas, and that's the only difference I have in our Final Four.
I would have picked
Illinois,
Kansas.
Arizona, Houston, and Kansas.
I would have picked Kansas if their big man wasn't hurt. And then Kansas also just lost their point guard with a knee injury. So Kansas is already injured as it is, and now they're becoming more shorthanded before the tournament started.
Oh, I didn't know any of that.
And McNeese State has the longest winning streak in the nation, too. Like, McNeese State is a legitimate number 12 seed. I think they were actually vastly underseeded.
What other big upsets do you see happening?
I got James Madison knocking off Wisconsin.
Got that one too, actually.
And I actually have them knocking off Duke in the second round. So I have James Madison getting to the Sweet 16.
I actually have that as well. Wow. That's pretty scary.
And then watching this game right now, I actually have Michigan State knocking off North Carolina. Main reason for that is Tom Izzo is 6-0 against North Carolina in the NCAA tournament. He has never lost to North Carolina in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I can't see that. There's no chance. We got Michigan State, Mississippi State. No, see, yeah. Yeah, I have Mississippi State winning that game, and it's
Yeah,
only still.
Michigan State looks really good right now. They were up by 10. Now Mississippi State's cut it back to 7, but Michigan State looks really good right now.
Yeah, yeah, and I have North Carolina doing that, but I do have Grand Canyon beating St. Mary's
Mm-hmm.
and beating Charleston, who's also going to beat Alabama. It's going to be a 12-13 matchup there.
Yep. That one I saw.
And then I have Grand Canyon going to the Sweet 16 over Charleston. I was real close. This is that one, like, yeah, so you watch this, like Grand Canyon, Charleston, New Mexico, I think beats Clemson. And I was real hard not to pick Colgate over Baylor, but I think Baylor does pull that one out.
And I almost went Samford over Kansas also. Just because of Kansas missing their center, just because their point guard now has a knee injury, I almost went Samford over Kansas. I just couldn't do it at this point, but I don't see Kansas getting past McNeese State if Kansas is not healthy.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they were that hurt and that beat up.
Because their center, I forgot. I don't even know if you know what the guy's name is, but since their center has gotten hurt, Kansas is 2-6.
Oh,
and now their starting point guard got hurt in the Big 12 tournament. He's already been ruled out for the opening weekend games, but there's a possibility that he comes back for the Sweet 16 if they get that far. But even then, if he's out this whole weekend, there's no guarantee that they get that far.
Yeah, that is correct. So, all right, yeah. So I have pretty much, interestingly enough, up in that first, other than Drake, I guess up in the East, other than Drake, I have chalk going.
I think I have Duquesne beating BYU.
And they're playing right now, so
yeah, they just started.
Yeah, either way, Illinois beats them. I think, like I said, I think Illinois goes all the way to the finals here, and then lose. You know, I got them losing to Kansas, but that could be Houston, since Kansas. I don't have the chance to edit anymore, so I put it out there before I even knew what I didn't even know half my teams were playing. So I guess he froze up again. Yeah, all right. Yep, he did freeze up again. Going to see if he's going to make things better there. So, what happened at your Detroit game?
An absolute bludgeoning of a first period where Detroit was outshot 20-4 and fell behind 2-0 basically 6 minutes into the game, but then they ended up winning 4-3 in overtime.
Yeah, so it was actually a good game for you to watch.
Not the first 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes, they were ready to stink and buoy the Red Wings out of the building.
That happens sometimes. You know, can't win all the games or at least all the periods. And I guess the coach got under them. It was like, hey, get something happen here.
Patrick Kane got under him, too.
About time he's doing something over there. I mean, that guy's like 100 years old.
Hey, he's got 20 goals this year. He had another overtime winner in that game.
Yeah, speaking of 20 goal scorers, 20. How about Ovechkin coming on strong lately?
He's only 50 away from Gretzky.
I know that, but he's actually been doing pretty well.
He has.
So, did the router change? Are you feeling better now, there, Bo?
I don't feel confident. I don't feel confident at all.
See, yeah, Comcast, you need to figure this out. This is a very important show to the world.
That's right. No, I'm going to go get a spool of coax after the show, or if it keeps dropping out, maybe sooner. I don't know, but but yeah, I'm going to go get some coax, get it wrapped around the house, and then actually have all the equipment in here, and then I'll end up hardwiring it because I don't trust their router, and I don't have my stuff set up yet. So
yeah, By April 1st. Yes, April 1st is a big day, so you need to
Yes.
have it ready. Chris is saying that you need to make sure that it's all ready good.
If my if my life isn't kind of figured out by April 1st, some other major things went down. Because we've been in this new place for like 5 days, so we're still unloading boxes and getting everything set up.
I did. You know what? I just saw this, Robert, and I didn't. That actually is something to talk about here. I did not see that. Good for New York, which is not something that you'd expect that to come from.
Yeah.
That they are not allowing transgender females to play in female sports.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Agreed.
I mean, it. Yeah, like I always thought that was a weird thing because I mean, at the end of the day, biologically, you're a guy, so you have an advantage, right? So, like when you were seeing, transgender women setting women's like times, stuff like that,
Swimming records and stuff like that.
Exactly. It's like, okay, well, I mean, that's not a real record, right?
Right.
So, now don't get me wrong. Like, you're free to do what you want. I'm not saying that on this show at all. That's not what I'm saying. But for them to be able to set women's records, like none of that makes sense.
That's why I can't wait for the enhanced games because that would make it better. You're like, okay, have all the transgender guys who are very big into sports and doing all this stuff, and they want to take whatever medicine they want to take to do whatever. Perfect. Let them play it out. That's the perfect scenario for them. Yeah. But it's
and I'm sure we just got some more applicants for our April 1st show based on this conversation alone.
Well, you know what? I get that, and that's okay if they want to use that as the fodder for me. Truth of the matter is that I'm not against what it is that, I'm not against them competing. I'm just wanting it to be, I want the competition to be fair. And it's not fair right now.
I wouldn't even mind if there was just a transgender division.
Correct.
Like that would be fine. I would be fine with that. I just don't think that guys should be able to set records for women, biological men. Right. So I don't think they should be able to do that. Now, if there was their own division, fully support that.
Agreed. And this is a big deal. It's interestingly enough, like how arm wrestling is a microcosm of some of the things that happen in sports. When you go on the world stage, like when you're dealing with the world, there are some unique set of circumstances that are attached to certain people. You know what I mean? Like the world's got 8 billion people in it. There was this a woman in Turkey. She was an arm wrestler. When you looked at her, she looked like a boy.
Sure.
She looked like a boy. She had a voice of a boy. But she was 100% woman, 100% female. And every time she won a match, she'd get tested.
Sure.
So, and ultimately, and she knew it, and in fact, we got to interview her afterwards with an interpreter. And she explained it. She's like, I was born this way. This is the way it is. And I have to deal with the fact that every time I win, I'm going to get tested. And that's just the way my life is. It's like I win and I win and I win.
Sure.
And I get tested and I get tested and I get tested.
I mean,
like, okay.
If you keep collecting trophies and the inconveniences you get tested, I take that.
That's exact. And it's funny because the NFL does that really well too. They like, you had a great day. Time to get you you just won yourself a P test.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's just because they figure that like, if you made that big of an impact, there's a possibility that there was something that occurred. So we want to make sure that happens every time. And I got to imagine that that's like when you're dealing with those types of circumstances, you need to have that happen all the time.
No, for sure. And it happens in racing too. Like if you're a top 5 car, they inspect your car afterwards. They'll throw the template on it. They'll check ride height. They'll disassemble parts of your car if they think that they're
The weight, I like you have to have a certain weight on your car. Like so, there are certain cars that have to add weight to the somewhere in the body or something. Like they got to add 5-pound weights or 10-pound weights even to be able to make sure that it matches weight and such. So,
absolutely.
I mean, I understand that. I mean, obviously, they got to probably test the driver too to make sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to.
Mhm.
You don't want to have that somebody doing that remote control.
Yeah, I don't know if they really get that far into it, but like I remember there was a NASCAR race. You know, I was younger. I forget the driver, but they had a spot on the track where their car was routinely bottoming out during practice. So they literally put a piece of wood in that spot so that it would bounce off that piece of wood. Well, I forget. I want to say they won, but I don't remember exactly. But they ended up getting disqualified because it at that spot was too low, or it hung down too low, and so they got DQ'd, even though they ran the race clean, all of that, but because that piece of wood they added to keep it from bottoming out right there, that got them a sanction against it.
Huh. Yep. It's funny when you mentioned the DQ. I remember seeing something the other day. Swimmer broke the world record and was all excited about it. Jumped over the line to celebrate with the guy next to him, and they disqualified him because there was some swimmer who hadn't finished the race yet,
Mm,
and he
that
got
sucks.
disqualified because of it. And it's like, whoa, that's like the guy's he just swam a world record race and now lost the race because he was too excited too quickly.
Man, that is terrible. That is terrible. I mean, I get it. Rules are rules, right? You got to stay in your lane until everybody finishes. I get it, but man, that also
Yeah,
means that world record time doesn't count.
right. That's exactly like so. It goes across the board. Yeah, even the announcers are like, "Celebrate it! You did something amazing there." Blah 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 blah. What's this? Oh, he's disqualified because he celebrated a little too early. Oh, such a shame. You know what I mean? It's like you're telling the guy to celebrate, and then you're saying, "Oh, now it's such a shame."
Right?
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. What's in some of these sports, but this was an NCAA. This was college, so the NCAA definitely makes the right call again. The tire wear at Bristol. I don't know what to mention about that. I have nothing to say about that, Chris. I have no clue what happens with tire wear at Bristol.
They're tearing up tires. It has to do with track surface.
Yeah, that they went through more tires than they've ever gone through before in a NASCAR race. In that race, those tires were getting normally at Bristol you can get roughly 65 to 80 laps because it's a shorter track. Obviously, it's only the mile as opposed to like the mile and a half too. They were getting like 45 laps before those tires were gone.
Yeah, it's a little half-mile track. Yeah, it was just
And what was causing it? The heat? Was it?
No, it's just the surface. It's like a dirt surface. So you have like the asphalt like on the bottom, obviously, but it's like there's like a dirt layer on top of the asphalt. So then you have like all the gravel particles and all the dirt that was so dry that it was just ripping the tires to shreds like a lot quicker than it normally does.
Yeah, they call it marbles. Basically, it's pieces of rubber and stuff get tossed up the track.
Yep.
And if you get up there, it actually gets real slick because it'll stick to your tires.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the track surface, for whatever reason, it was just absolutely destroying tires.
Well, hopefully they had enough tires to finish the race.
Oh, yeah, that was not an issue. They always have an insane amount of tires on it.
They have enough. They typically have 20 sets of tires is what they typically have for each NASCAR race per team or whatever.
Yeah. And at their level, they don't have some of the lower level racing rules where you can only put on so many new tires.
No.
Or you can only enter the race with so many new tires. At the cup level, you can put as many tires on as you want.
Yep.
So I appreciate that. Thank you very much there, Yves. Talking about so the other day, instead of showing the rerun of the same show that we've been showing over and over again, I showed my speech at O'Hara High School.
Oh, cool.
So I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it was we did. I repeated like I did another interview from back in the day, and then I was like, I had 40 minutes left. I'm like, you know what? This is the perfect time to show my speech, because I hadn't shown it to anybody yet, and it was just like, you know what? Let's show this out there, and it got good response. So thank you. I appreciate that.
So what do you guys think of the latest trade proposal that's been floating around in the NFL?
Which one?
Where the Vikings give the Chargers their 11, their 23, their second and third rounder this year for Justin Herbert because Jim Harbaugh wants JJ McCarthy.
11, 23, a second and a third
for Justin Herbert because Jim Harbaugh wants JJ McCarthy.
I feel like that might be too much for him, but
he did just sign a 5-year extension, so he's locked up for 5 years.
Yeah,
he literally has nobody left after you got rid of Eckler, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they gotta rebuild a team
because he signed that extension when those guys were still on the roster. Had he known they were going to do this, I guarantee he doesn't sign that extension.
Yeah, probably true. Man, that would be interesting because that would definitely change what you think about the Vikings.
Because you can still have Sam Darnold there as his backup, and then Herbert goes into a situation where he's got Aaron Jones basically to replace Austin Eckler. Yep. Justin Jefferson and Addison would be his Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and then Hawkinson would be his tight end. So you go kind of to a similar situation that he would have had with the Chargers, just with obviously more stability and being that he's under a 5-year contract.
Yeah, that defense really kind of came on as the year went on.
Yeah,
you know what? I would take out the 23. I take out the 23.
Just go 11.
You either get the 11 and the 23. 11, second, and a third, maybe. And I would want that third to be next year, not this year.
That's what it was. It was the 11 and the 23 this year and the second this year, and then the 23 or the third round pick in 2025.
Yeah, and that third maybe right. It could be a conditional that becomes a second. Like if they win the division.
I don't even know that I wouldn't even do a conditional on that either, because it's now you're still giving them too much. I mean, I think a first, a second, and a third for a quarterback that's not welcome there.
Yeah.
He wants somebody different. Now he doesn't want to get rid of that quarterback. Well, you know what? That's fine.
Hell, I'll take him in Minnesota. Yep. Come on down, Herbert.
But I think the 11 and the 23, or I don't even know if I would do the 11 and the 23.
No, I think 2 firsts in the same draft is too much.
I think they could go. I think they could go 11, the second rounder this year, and a third rounder next year, or even 11 and 2 seconds. I think they could do it, and then they keep their 23.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see a first and a second, and then a second next year. Or that's why I said if it was a third next year that could escalate to a second.
Yeah, that's where I would do the escalation, I guess.
Yeah.
You could play with the escalation if it makes it feel any better.
Well,
but only to a second. Only to a second. You're not going to give him a first next year.
Correct. But, if you were able to, I would do an escalator if based on you winning the division.
Yep.
Right. Because you have other teams that are going to be a problem to get by. Right. Like Detroit, they're going to be the front runner for that division. Green Bay's coming on. Who knows what the Bears are going to be? So if you had that escalator of winning the division, that's not like a slam dunk.
No.
Third to second. Like you're going to have to earn that. So I could see that being an escalator next year. And yeah, like a first and second this year. I'd give that up for Herbert. You know what he is. He can put up yards.
And is that still going to be enough? First off, I haven't even heard his name mentioned in the first round of a draft. So you'd have to pick him in the first round then.
McCarthy?
Oh, he's definitely going in the first.
McCarthy's they saying he's going to go number 4 overall. They think there's going to be 4 straight quarterbacks going 1 through 4.
Well, especially now that Arizona is talking about trading.
Yeah, because they said at this point they think Minnesota is going to trade with Arizona to get to number 4 so they can take McCarthy.
Yeah, and then Arizona trades back up to 5th to get.
Which is where the Chargers are picking right now, and Harbaugh is so high on McCarthy right now that he's trying to get out of that number 5 for a chance to get McCarthy. So I'm like, if Minnesota is going to trade up to number 4 to possibly take McCarthy, you want him that bad, stay at 5 and just trade Herbert to Minnesota because Cardinals aren't taking McCarthy at 4. They'll go Harrison Jr. at 4. And Herbert's got that no trade clause, but you honestly think he's going to keep it? Now with how that team is situated right now for the next several years, losing every single weapon that he had, he'd easily waive that no trade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, yeah, but see, he's got the power with the no trade.
Yeah.
That's where the power really is. So he could screw them completely. I would almost, if I was Minnesota, I'd almost want to take him 4th. Because then you have the power. You're like, all right, trade me Herbert and your next first round pick.
True.
Because now you've got the power. Now, of course, you got to get up there, so you got to trade all that stuff to get to that point to be able to beat them. Because Arizona's going to trade with somebody. Arizona's going to trade back.
The mock draft they showed yesterday was Minnesota trades to 4 and gives Arizona 11 and 23. And then Arizona trades the 11 to get to 5. So then Arizona picks 5, 23, and 27. So Arizona ends up with 3 first-round picks. And they had him taking Harrison at 5. They had him taking that Byron Murphy out of Texas at 23, the nose tackle. And then they had him taking Brian Thomas at 27.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or that's Minnesota moving up 1 spot.
No, that'd be Minnesota moving up 7 because Minnesota's picking 11 right now.
Yeah.
So who's the number 5 spot?
Chargers.
Yeah.
And that's why if Minnesota wants to trade to 4 with Arizona to get to McCarthy, and then Arizona would trade back to get Harrison at 5. If Harbaugh wants McCarthy that bad, he's going to have to figure out a way to get ahead of Arizona from 5 to 4 because if Minnesota trades up, you're not getting McCarthy at 5 because that's who Minnesota's going to take at 4.
Yeah.
Then really you don't have much of a leg to stand on there either. It's a first round pick. Minnesota's got 2 picks, you're saying?
Yeah, they put 11 and 23.
Yeah, I would do just the 11 pick. Give them the 11 pick.
I'd be fine with that too, because Herbert's better than McCarthy at this point. At least I know what I'm getting out of Herbert from day 1.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. I wouldn't give another pick. Maybe a 5th round pick. Something to sweeten the pot. Here's a 4th round pick for you. You know what I mean? One of my compensatory 4th rounders. Something that you don't feel like losing. But I don't know that I would. Yeah, I would definitely not do 2 first rounders, a 2nd and a 3rd.
No.
Especially because you know his cards.
Yeah.
None of this ever plays out the way it expects to. So I'm not sure that.
No, that's why I always laugh at mock drafts.
Yeah, so Justin Herbert last year signed a 7-year, $262 million contract. So that actually starts this year. So you make that trade, there's your franchise quarterback in Minnesota for the next 7 years.
Yeah, and he's locked up. So
Yeah.
I mean, then you can you have a physical number you can work around.
Yeah, because I mean, he's scheduled to make $29 million in 2024, $33 million in 2025, and then every year it goes up from there. But that's a bargain when you look at what some of these quarterbacks are getting right now. $34 million a year for Herbert.
Yeah, no, that's not bad at all. When you look at Dak potentially getting a $60 million a year contract. Then you have a real question on what do you do to keep, Justin Jefferson there.
That's what you do because he's locked up.
Justin Jefferson stays there because of that.
Yeah,
because of that.
At least that's your thought. Now he's got Jefferson and Hawkinson.
And Addison yet, and they'll figure out what to do at running back after that. But they've already said they're going to give Justin Jefferson a lot of say as to who he wants Vikings to draft if they draft a quarterback. Well, if he finds out that Justin Herbert's available, he's going to be like, trade for Herbert. Get him and then sign me, and we're good to go.
Yeah, because, I mean, that Chargers team would have been a lot better had their defense shown up at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I do believe that the 2 firsts are too much, or first, second, and third are too much. Yeah, the number 11 is enough.
Yeah.
You don't want him there. That's the reason. It's like, oh, well, I'll trade him somewhere else for a number 1 pick. Okay. Maybe find a better picker. That means you got to find somebody better than whatever. I guess Houston could be that guy.
Yeah.
All right, StatGuy, got to roll out here for a minute. We'll take this moment to do our station identification break. Since we are at the top of the hour, we will be back in just a few moments after these commercial messages.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get us any.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Sometimes, all you need to change your life is a sign. A sign that says, "Hank, this is the place you've been looking for." And sometimes that sign is an actual sign that's mounted to a building. 1 second, I'm looking at a sign. I know what you're thinking, and no, I don't love B-dubs just because I'm a buffalo with wings. Frankly, that's offensive and reductionist. Cause this place, come on. It's like they took beer and made it into a place and then gave that place sports and chicken wings. And the people? Cuba. The best.
Oh! What the is going on, Marty? This isn't a game. This is trivia.
Yeah, this place is kind of like heaven. Without needing to get hit by a bus. Let's go, sports bar.
Supporting the needs of our veterans. That's the goal of all of us at Team AmVets. Like Mitch, Carlos, and Kevin from our Welcome Home team that brings furniture to our vets.
We are Team AmVets.
Or Linda from our thrift stores who brings you great bargains every day.
I am Team AmVets.
And John, who picks up your thrift store donations that support California veterans programs.
I am Team AmVets.
Visit our website or a Team AmVets thrift store to donate or shop today.
Join the team!
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And we are back for our second hour of Coast to Coast.
Yep. Yeah, so to address this one here, do players have any say in what happens to them? That really depends on what their contract looks like and how it's written. Right. So like if you are in a situation where in your contract, there's a no trade clause, if you want to waive that as a player, you can then kind of decide the teams that you're willing to waive it for. If that isn't in there, you really don't have a lot of say. They can trade you kind of wherever it is they want to go. Or if you're a free agent, then you can decide exactly where you want to go based on interest from teams. Now, in some of those scenarios, you may have to take less money to go where you want to go, but it really just depends on what your contract is, where you are in it, and how it's written.
Agreed. And you see that a lot more frequently in baseball and hockey. Basketball sometimes too, although I think basketball is going to wind up changing with this. I mean, actually, that's not true. I don't think basketball is going to change until they get a new commissioner.
Yeah.
I think that they need a commissioner with a little bit of a backbone, and they don't have one of those.
Yep.
So, I mean, ultimately, but you see it a lot in hockey where the players with the no trade clause will say, oh, okay, I want to only go trade here or here. I know that, Claude Giroux did that with us.
And that's what Russell Wilson did, right? That's how he ended up in Denver. That was one of the places he was willing to go.
Right. And I guess had he known that they were going to change coaches, he probably wouldn't have wanted to go there. But they did give him a lot of money. So, and he still has all that money. So, and they wind up eating all of that. This is what we spoke about for a little bit. For a little bit yesterday. He's what, like they're $68 million over the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank God he tricked the. Yep. Thank God that they didn't want to give that much money. So the Eagles definitely did know. They're like, yeah, we could bring you here, but it was going to be a 1-for-1 deal.
It was.
And it was only going to be a 3-year deal he was going to get. He'd have been, hung here at Lincoln Financial on the 95 side of had he had the type of year he had here.
Yeah, I don't think he would have had that bad of a year. I think your team was put together in such a better way. There would have been more success. Would you have gone to the Super Bowl? I don't know, but certainly would have had more success than he had with the Broncos.
I agree with that part, but I don't know that. Probably been about the same. Gone to the playoffs, lost in the first round. Maybe he would have beaten. Who knows? I don't think that would have made a difference. I think some of the challenges that were had in the second part of the season would not have been there, so it could have meant a whole different scenario.
Sure. Right. Although your most famed play wouldn't have been a thing.
No, definitely.
There's no push on that one.
Yeah, he's not doing much. He would have been handing it off to somebody to go.
No doubt.
But it's interesting how that's like, obviously it's staying in the rules. The tush push is going to be around, and
of course it's a QB sneak. Like there's nothing special about it. It just means your running back is giving you a shove. Like, who cares?
Right.
You don't like it, defend it. And if it's if it's that easy, go do it. Like it's
Wasn't
not
there
like
a penalty in a football game where the fridge picked up Sweetness and threw him into the
so
end zone?
you can't do that. Just like you can't jump the line by using the line to get up, right?
Right.
So
You
you
can't
can't
leapfrog them.
exactly. So
You can jump over the line.
you can jump through the line. Like you can't because as I
Yeah,
recall, you
yeah,
can't.
you're not allowed to jump over it anymore. Or...
Yeah, so and you can't touch like if you were to come through the middle there, you can't touch the center. I mean, there's elements to it, especially because Cam Chancellor became really good at doing it, and so that was something where they're like, yeah, we're going to make this harder to do. But yeah, I mean, there's still ways you can do it. But yeah, if you're picking a guy up, you can't do that. You can't shove off of a lineman, leapfrogging people. Like you can't. There's elements to it, but there's still ways to do it. And the tush push only worked because you had Kelsey, who's a monster, and Hurts. What they say deadlift or squats like 600 pounds or something. So I mean, the only reason that works is because of how much just driving force they have down low. That's why the other teams can't do it because it's not like other teams haven't tried.
Right. Yeah, none of them were able to really mimic what the Eagles have been able to do. And now it'll be even different when you have, two guys that can, squat 1,200 pounds, 600 pounds each,
Yep.
pushing in one direction. Saquon
Exactly.
will also be able to do that just the same. Which always kind of amazed me when you see the guys jumping over the line.
Mhm.
Why would you do that? You lose every bit of momentum. If you get hit with a force on the opposite side, you're going to wind up losing.
Yeah, I mean the thing is if you got a guy that can really get up, right? If you can really get up and you can clear it, you're going to get 4 yards because you're going to hit the backside of the other team and you're going to roll off them before you hit the ground. So I mean, it works as long as you can sky over everybody. If you can't and you get hit, then yeah, you're going nowhere.
Right. So I never really understood that because I mean I obviously know a little bit about physics and when you take all your momentum away from that, all you need is a small little somebody to push you in the wrong direction and you're going to go in the wrong direction. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
those
no, the
those
only way
types
it works is if you can get over everyone. If you can get over everyone, then it absolutely works because that's 4 or 5 yards every time. But the thing is you got a safety that's coming up full speed also because it's not like it's a shock what you're doing. You're getting a running start.
right.
So then it's just
But
can they mirror you enough to hit you square? Like that's the big thing.
right, because like I said, once you've jumped, you don't get to maneuver yourself.
Nope.
It's like you're there, you're going in one direction. So, and it
That's
doesn't
why I
take
always
much
laughed.
force to push you.
It's why I always laughed on the tush push where you'd see one of those safeties coming up and then jump over the top. Like what exactly? I mean, unless you happen to clear everybody and trip the guy, you're going to be a non-factor.
Agreed.
'Cause
But
you have
you're
absolutely
also you're not a high jumper here.
yeah,
Like that's the other thing. You're not a high jumper. Most football players are not high jumpers.
sure.
So it's
Yeah, they weigh
not
too much.
like you're going to, you're not going to be able to jump 8 foot above everybody. Just my opinion. But
Yeah,
again, who am I? That's why they pay these guys millions of dollars, and I just get to talk about it.
pretty much.
So, can a teammate throw you
With the
with
ball,
the ball? No,
they cannot.
they cannot.
They
That
cannot.
is illegal. And we learned that with the fridge.
Yep.
And I think in the NFC Championship, I think he threw Sweetness into the end zone, and they said no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It was only tried once, and that was the end of that.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean it's so. I guess we'll see. I don't know. And I don't think because Kelsey retired is the reason why they kept it. Because Jurgens is actually a younger Kelsey right now. And he's able to, move people. It's the way that works is you have to be the lowest guy. You have to be the lowest guy, which means that if you know when you're hiking the ball and you dive down because you're taking out that guy's legs.
Yep.
And then it becomes a push match.
Yep. It's that rugby scrum.
Appreciate that. It's dinner time in Belgium. And of course, he's a Seahawks fan, by the way, in Belgium.
Yep. Got to go visit, drink beer. I'm in.
Exactly. Appreciate you stopping in during lunch. Grab a beer, relax. Hopefully you're at Buffalo Wild Wings, as they are our unofficial sponsor. I figure if I keep saying it, it'll become official sooner than later.
That is the goal.
So, and I guess, so has that, I haven't even been keeping up with our text messages. Jay's okay? Just still on drugs?
Yeah. So he's still in a lot of pain, which is why he hasn't been on the show. Still taking those painkillers, but he is home. He is recovering. So that part of it's good. But yeah, no, just still in a lot of pain. So he's not quite ready to be on camera yet.
Hey, you know what? And as you're talking about Belgian beer, I'm game with that. First off, one of my favorites is Chimay Blue. I love Chimay. And then there's Saint Benedictine or something like that, which is a quad, which is rare. You don't hear about many quad beers. On triples definitely. Quads are hard, and it's an amazing quad. So I'm big on triple. I'm not like big on doubles or anything like that. Doubles are still too hoppy for me. I'm not a hoppy guy. I don't like the hop.
Triples are pretty smooth. I can't say I've had a quad though.
So there's not many. Like I said, I think it's Saint Benedictine. You look it up and say quad Belgian beer. There's not that list is very short. But the good one, I'm also a big fan of La Fin du Monde, which is a Canadian beer, Canadian Belgian, and that's actually a really good one. I'm a big fan of that one. Oh, here we go.
There you go. A bit overrated.
Well, probably for you over there, Eves, I can imagine. It's probably the beer, like their Budweiser is a lot different over there than it is here. I got to drink a Guinness in Ireland, and I tell you, when you see the river that they use the water from to make Guinness, you consider on whether you want to drink it anymore.
Well,
I imagine it filters
you're
out. You're
cooking it, right? So
yeah, there's a whole big deal. I can imagine, but it was cool. I got a little baby bottle of Guinness from the Guinness factory. I still have it. When I was over there in Ireland, it was a lot of fun to go take, just kind of see everything that goes into the making of that beer.
Yeah. Well, and Guinness is heavy. I mean, that's eating a loaf of bread. It's not like you're going to sit there and drink a bunch of them generally.
and for all those people, that love Scotch, like I'm not a Scotch fan, but I do have a square foot, that allows me to get 1 dram of beer or 1 dram of Scotch, which is, I think it's like 1/16 of a shot.
Okay.
But if I was ever to go there and visit my square foot, I could have as much Scotch as I want.
All right.
Because they will definitely drink. Yeah, Brad, we know about this one. This doesn't move my needle. I could care less. He's not even going to make the team, Paris Campbell. I never even heard of him until I heard that he got signed.
You ever heard of Paris Campbell before?
Not really. I'm not a big Giants fan.
He was like Indianapolis before that. He was really good with the Colts for a few years.
Was he?
Yeah, he was good. Oh Christ, he would have been with the Colts probably his first 5 years, and then he ended up getting hurt. But he was really good. The Colts his first 5 years. It was him and Michael Pittman, and T.Y. Hilton for a few years.
What, the years of Andrew Luck?
It was Luck's last 2 years, and then whoever was brought in to replace Luck. But it was the first. So Andrew Luck's last 2 years with the Colts, it was Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman Jr., and T.Y. Hilton were his go-to options.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I'll be honest. This name doesn't move my needle.
It wouldn't move my needle anymore either, but at a time it would have been a good signing for you.
Yeah, 5 years ago would have been great.
Yeah. 5 years ago, before his body said, nope, I don't want to get hit no more.
I mean, that was true for the Hawks with Jerry Rice, right? Like, people don't even remember he was on the team, but had he signed 10 years prior, it would have been amazing.
Well, that's the problem. He was 10 years too late.
Exactly.
Or at least the Hawks were 10 years too late.
Yes.
I don't even remember. I thought he was always on the Raiders. Like, Rice went to the Raiders. I didn't even know that he went to the Hawks.
Yep. 1 year.
For one season.
Yeah.
Got you. Nothing crazy.
No.
So, have you found the Buffalo Wild Wings yet there, StatGuy?
I'm close. I'm in traffic right now. I can see the sign, though.
Look at that. He's going to be there, and he's going to say, hey, listen, you guys sponsor our show. You should give me some free wings. See if that
he's
works.
just in the parking lot staring at the sign like your commercial.
There you go. So you got to get the uniform. See if you can see if you can be the mascot for a day.
Yeah, no, we don't have those.
No, I can imagine. So I watched a little bit of the NIT last night. I was watching that number 10s go after it, and then the number 16s. But I was watching the NIT, and they show the St. Joseph's mascot, and St. Joseph's lost in overtime to
Seton Hall.
I think it was Seton Hall. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the one thing I felt bad for is the mascot of St. Joe's. So the St. Joe's mascot, to be the mascot of St. Joe's, you're this hawk. You have to wear this hawk, and you can't stop flapping your arms the entire time.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
So that game went into overtime. Just when you think it's just about over, it's like, nope, not yet.
That guy better be getting a pay raise for that.
Right.
And he's doing this the entire time. He's going, yeah. And you could tell towards the end, he's tired of doing that because he's like,
yeah, that's like going to be smoked.
That's like the Wisconsin Badger mascot for football, though. They have to do a push-up for every point they score.
So, I thought, bottom line, I guess you didn't hear, the Vikings are considering trading one of the first round, or not both of the first round picks, and possibly a second or a third to get
Herbert
from San Diego or Los Angeles.
No, it's San Diego. They should never move. They should have never moved for stinking Los Angeles.
Yep.
They don't even know whose house was in there. Drop that wing and you're plucked. Exactly. Yeah, you're out. I would definitely. I'm not a mascot because I can't stay quiet. I'm just not that guy. Mascots traditionally have to not speak, and so I could never be a mascot.
Getting back to the NIT quick. One thing I do like about the NIT more so that I like about the actual NCAA tournament, I actually like that they play those opening round games at the higher seeds venue.
I dig that.
Like for the NCAA tournament, I'd be fine with it too, like where the higher seed hosts the opening round games, like the opening weekend, and then when you get to the Sweet 16 is when you go to the neutral courts.
So North Carolina would host all of the games.
So like North Carolina would host like the 1-16 matchup and the 8-9 matchup, and then the winners of those games would play at Chapel Hill the next, like on Sunday or whatever. So you would just have the higher seed host basically 3 games. So if you're the 1 seed, you would host the 1-16, the 8-9 matchup, and then the 2 winners would play there on Sunday or Saturday. If you're the 2 seed, you would host the 2-15, the 7-10, and then the winners would play that. If you're the 3 seed, you would host the 3-14, 6-11. If you're the 4 seed, you'd host the 4-13, 5-12, and like so on and so forth, just for that opening round weekend. And then just go to the neutral courts once the Sweet 16 starts. Because that's what the women's NCAA tournament is. The women's NCAA tournament does that, where the higher seed hosts the opening round games, and then they go to the neutral courts on the Sweet 16.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You know, you're hating it if you lose in that first round. You don't.
You
wanna
are,
be
but
the-
like,
you don't want to be.
you look at how
Virginia a
far they're
couple
sending
years
some of
ago.
these teams, though. I mean, you look at how far they're sending some of these teams. Like the Wisconsin Badgers are in what, the West region, and they're playing games out east right now. But then the Sweet 16, they're out west. Like, what's the point of having them play out east right now? Just have them play in the Midwest or at their venue the first opening weekend, and send them out west for when the actual Sweet 16 and Elite 8 are.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the problem with having the north, south, east, and northwest and stuff like that. That
Yeah.
none of those are real. You know what I mean? It only works out for the very first one. The number one seed gets to play in the one that they want, and that's usually the East. So you have Connecticut in the East, but you have North Carolina in what? What are
They're
they
in the
Northwest?
south. No.
Northwest?
So the East, UConn's the East. I believe Houston's the South. Purdue's the Midwest. So yeah, North Carolina would be the West.
Yeah, they're in the West, which makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah. So if you're going to put North Carolina in the West, like the first opening round weekend, let them host their games at Chapel Hill, and then send them out west when you get down to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. Granted, I think their games are their games are playing. North Carolina's playing in Charlotte anyways this weekend. They're playing where the Charlotte Hornets play at the Spectrum Center. So if you're going to have them play in Charlotte anyways, why not just let them play at Chapel Hill? It's literally what, an hour and a half drive?
And that's odd anyways, because that doesn't make it West. Just because it's the West bracket.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
got the
that's-
lowest one seed, that's why. And because UConn has the highest one seed, you have to put that fourth number one seed up against the number one overall seeds bracket. That's
Right,
just how the
and then
seeding played out, with
Houston
Houston being 2,
kinda-
Purdue 3.
Well, and all three of those make sense.
Yeah. If you look at it,
the West.
if you look at it though, like you can go probably back the last 4 or 5 years. 3 of the 4 number one seeds always make sense where they get seeded. It's always that fourth number one seed that doesn't make sense because it's a team that was sitting outside the top 4 until the conference tournament. And then all of a sudden they won their conference tournament and found their way to get a 1 seed. So it's like, well, Purdue's in the Midwest, Arizona's in the West, Duke's in the East. Well, guess what, Gonzaga? You won your conference tournament, so now you're the number one seed in the South because we have to throw somebody there.
Right. Well, yeah, they got to make something happen. I get it. Well, doesn't matter. My bracket's already done since I picked Kansas. And I just found out now they have all those injuries. So, yeah, my bracket is done before
it even starts.
Exactly. But anyways, I can't wait for you to get in there, Stat Guy, and show us what these wings look like. It's been a long time since I've been to. In fact, I don't think I've been to one Buffalo Wild Wings.
Really?
In my life. In my life.
Hey, Rob.
Wow.
Rob, what since you're watching right now, what are you doing for lunch? Because now I just kind of want some wings with all of these wings conversations happening. So after this show, if you're still watching, let's go to Linwood. Let's get some wings.
See, how come we don't have Linwood sponsoring us then?
Well, it would just be closer for him. We actually have, I think we have 4 or 5 Wild Wings. So
yeah,
we have.
There's 1 or 2 around here, but I've never been to one because it's, like I said, I've been to the one, and I went there because Bill Berge was speaking there.
So our Linwood one. So if we're going to shout out a location, our Linwood one is a really fun place to watch a Hawks game if you're not going to be at the game, because it gets real loud in that building. Like they have a pretty electric atmosphere for a Seahawk game.
Got you. See, yeah, I never know where to go watch a game. If I'm not at the game, I'm not sure where I'd go watch it. Because that's the hard part about going to games all the time. I don't ever go somewhere. Like, so normally I'm like, for instance, when I didn't go to the Eagles game, there was 2 Eagles games I missed in the last 5 years since COVID, really. So really, I'll include COVID in that mix. I was at a World Series game, so I couldn't. I was at a baseball game. Sorry, couldn't go to. And then it was Christmas Eve, and I watched it at a local bar.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So,
I mean, fortunately for me, because I do the sports bar series for Thursday Night Football, I get to explore a lot of different locations. So that's been kind of fun. And no worries, Rob. Tell your mom I say hi.
You're taking her out for the date. Well, you could take her out for some wings, Rob. Come on.
She 100%.
Come on, Rob. This isn't a game. This is trivia.
That's right.
I tell you, on days that, when baseball starts, we actually have something to talk about. It's going to be exciting because it's not only going to be baseball, it's going to be hockey playoffs. It's going to be, basketball playoffs and stuff like that. Right now is like the dog days of sports.
Well, and you're going to be getting real close to the draft too.
Yeah, well, the draft. I actually am going to be sending out my emails today for the draft because it's that time.
Oh, I just got my credentials for the draft next year.
Oh, awesome!
For next year?
Yeah, it's in Green Bay, right down the road from my house.
Oh, is it in Green Bay?
Yes, it is.
Oh, then I'll stay with you then.
You could.
Perfect. That's good to know. I didn't realize it was in Green Bay. Actually, and I have a couple of inns in Green Bay. So we could definitely do a show in Green Bay.
Yes, we could.
Yeah, because I know the bar owner of the bar right outside that big complex.
Stadium View?
I guess.
Or is it Stadium View or is it Anduzzi's? Is it the one that's got 2 levels on it with kind of like the big deck that's on the top? That's Anduzzi's. Yep.
Okay. So then, yes. So interestingly enough, family of them I drink with here at the bar.
Oh,
nice.
Awesome.
So they have come a few times here. So
yeah, they could definitely get you hooked up for a show there, and you could do the show from up on the sinking balcony up there and overlook the entire kind of draft field.
That would be kind of cool to see. Nice. I'm sure they're going to be. ESPN is probably going to be all over that.
ESPN will have the atrium, the Lambeau Field atrium, because that's where I believe the stage and everything's going to be. So the ESPN will have the bar in the Lambeau Field atrium reserved for them. They'll have some of the kind of the flooring area of the Lambeau Field atrium reserved for them.
And it's in Green Bay next year. Why did I think that it was in Vegas? Somebody told me it was in Vegas next year.
No, it's in Green Bay in 2025.
Okay.
That's why all the roads are under construction.
On that for right now.
That's why all the roads are under construction right now on the highway, because they want to have all that done for next year.
Oh yeah, Green Bay.
Yep, it's in Green Bay. That's what it says. 26. Now I want to find out where it's in 26. That's where it's probably in Vegas.
Yeah, I think Vegas is 26.
So this is 26 and 27 is the one that Pittsburgh is trying to get the bid for. So it hasn't been decided yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. Pennsylvania governor pushes for Pittsburgh to host 26 or 27 NFL draft. They haven't announced it yet. Good.
Exactly.
And they're not going back to Vegas. I'm much happier about that. I am definitely much happier about that. Thursday, the 24th to Saturday, April 26th. All right. So I'll bring an air mattress. If it's right down the street from your house, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's like a 15-minute drive from my house. So, I mean, you just got on the highway, you take the highway right there, and you get off the highway, and we're there.
And then try to find a parking spot, because that's going to be the ridiculous part.
Well, if we have, I mean, if the owner of that bar lets you go there, I'm pretty sure that they'll have employee parking that you could use there. Otherwise, with my credentials, I'm pretty sure we'll have media parking that we can just sing and drive our happy butts in there and park in there.
I'll take that as
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm all game for that. That'd be awesome.
Or if you don't have a problem walking, one of my friends owns a business 2 blocks away, and we can always use his parking lot too.
That's likely more what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't mind walking. How cold is it still in Green Bay in April?
I mean, so till this week, so starting like 2 days ago through basically next Tuesday is the coldest we've been in over 30s right.
Got ya. Well, did we lose you there? Or are you breaking up?
No, yep, I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So this week is the coldest week we've had in about a month. It's going to be in the 20s and 30s with 6 inches of snow tomorrow.
Ooh.
But since about mid-February, we've been in the 40s and 50s. We've had some 60s and 70s thrown in there, but typically end of April when the draft usually is, you're looking at temperatures in the low to mid-50s for highs. So not cold, but not. I mean, obviously you can get warm and you can get cold, but typically it's in the low to mid-50s that time of year.
Got ya.
So if it's average temperature, it'll be sweatshirt weather, obviously, for the draft, being that it's at night, because it'll probably be in the 40s by the time the draft starts. But
I can't wait for that snow squall to show up, and it's going to be like 28 degrees, and all of a sudden we have a blizzard that comes in. From lake effect in the opposite direction. It's going to be like a nor'easter that happens over the lakes, and it just kind of dumps us all, dumps like 20 feet of snow on us all.
They're prepared for it because they have three different areas where they can host it. They can host it in the atrium, which is their initial plan, just because the atrium is all covered, but you don't have a lot of room for the people then, unless you're putting them in the parking lot, which the parking lot will be uncovered, which doesn't work. You can essentially build yourself kind of like a draft stage in the parking lot and then cover everything that you want to cover. And then if you go right across the street from Lambeau Field, they have something called the Titletown District, where they have 120-yard football field where kids and everybody can play football on, like during game day, where their plan is to have all the people kind of stand on that field. They'll build a covered roof over that field, and then right before you get to that football field, you have a bunch of pavilions and a bunch of bars and everything that already overhang, so you could put the stage there and then just have everybody go back on that grass area.
See,
so even if it snows, they have coverage.
See, but even as you say that, I think of like they don't have like or I guess maybe they don't like. Green Bay doesn't have like a main train station and stuff like that. They usually like to pick somewhere away from the stadium.
Yeah, the way Green Bay is set up, I don't know if you've ever been there, but
I have, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, they have a bus stop that's downtown. They have a train station that's downtown, but it's so far away from where Lambeau Field is, and it's not big enough for them to even do anything. They would have to essentially use Lambeau Field and use all the amenities around it, just because Lambeau Field literally owns every inch of property within like 3 miles of that stadium. So anything they want to do, Lambeau Field owns it, so they can be like, well, we're going to put this here for the weekend, we're going to put this here for the weekend because we own it.
Well, that means everybody in Green Bay owns it.
Yep, for the most part, yeah. Everybody in Green Bay will own the draft that weekend.
I wonder if because they will charge for parking. I love it how those houses that are right there, they charge for parking. They're like, yep.
They charge, $60 a game. Those houses charge.
Oh, it'll be more that day. $60 isn't so bad, but there'll be more that week.
Yeah. And the houses across the street from the stadium too. Like they actually rent out the houses for game day parties, and you can find that on like Airbnb and some of those other like websites or whatever. for a regular game day party, just for one game, you're looking at between $1,000 and $2,500, depending on how many people are at your party. I guarantee they'll be selling these things for $10,000 for the whole weekend. Just be like, you want to do a whole weekend party? Here, $10,000. We'll give you the house for the whole weekend.
Well, if it's the right house, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, these houses are nice. These things are freaking amazing houses there too. That's like the only. As much as I hate the Packers, that is the one thing I do like about where that stadium is because you could just have a house right across the street from Lambeau Field, put a chair outside in your backyard, have a video, like a TV outside or whatever, and then you can just hear everything from the game across the street.
Yeah, that sounds great. I don't know that I'd want to live like that, but it is Green Bay, so I mean, I've been up in Green Bay. Like I said, I was up there when I went to Lambeau Field. That was in 2000s area. So yeah, whenever Rodgers was definitely the quarterback, he was hurt that game. The second string quarterback also got hurt. The third string quarterback played and didn't play too badly, but we won the game.
Okay.
It was a 1:00 game. That's how long ago that was. The
So
time
it would
before
have been
that, they had a big mural on the side. It was Lambeau Field. The bar was not there. There was this big mural of what looked like a factory next to Lambeau Field, and it said, "Welcome to Titletown," from the mayor, which was Brett Favre, and the sheriff, which was Reggie White.
Yep. So that I don't know if it's still there. Now they have a giant.
Now, as I'm sure.
Yeah. Now they have a giant mural that's a mile long.
Wow.
So all the houses in front of Lambeau cover basically a mile long stretch. And one of my friends, he actually owns like his own art company. It's called Forever Young Designs. And he's actually paid to paint the fence every year. So he paints the fence yellow every single year. And then after he paints the fence yellow, he'll paint the specific Packer players on that fence. And then once he paints the Packer player on that fence, that Packer player will sign his autograph in paint underneath the picture.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So every year it's different athletes on there, obviously, because you don't know who's going to be on the team. So like last year it was Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, Jair, and a couple other people on defense. This year it'll probably be obviously Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, the new safety they brought in, Xavier McKinney, and some other pieces here and there. But like every year he like is paid. I don't know how much he gets paid, but got to be a hefty sum to paint that much of a fence.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because he said it takes him a month, start to finish, to do it.
I can believe that. Absolutely believe that. Because not only that, you have to get a good picture of that person.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he says it takes him like 7 to 10 days to paint everything yellow. And then obviously you got to let that dry. So then you figure a 2-week stretch to paint everything yellow, and then another 2 weeks or so just to get all the images that you want to get all those on there.
Crazy.
Huh. That is kind of cool. I just got a notice from Chris. The Miami Marlins, this is fresh off the presses. The Miami Marlins are selling tickets for all-you-can-eat seats.
Huh.
Go to a Marlins game, and you can get an all-you-can-eat seat. They just go, peanuts, chili, nachos, water and soda, not beverages. You still have to buy your beer.
I mean, I don't know. I could see going and fat kidding that.
So what are we gonna do? Go from 9,000 in attendance to 10,000?
Maybe
9,500.
Yeah, man, that's the hard part about Miami is that there's so many other things to do. It's the same thing with Tampa. Tampa's doing the same thing. They got to figure out where they can move that stadium to and build a real stadium. And they got to build a real stadium. They should build it in a spot that actually has a good amount of wind so that they would be able to get some breeze over there and people can go to a game without sweating every bit of moisture they have in their bodies out.
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay plans to build one right on the water in St. Petersburg. If I saw the renderings right.
If it's only a $52 ticket, I'd take that for sure.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking
right?
about going down there for a 3-game series now with the Phillies.
Right?
That's $156. I'm good.
No
Plus
doubt.
your food? Hell yeah.
No, I don't need the food. I just go to eat at a baseball game.
No, that's what. Yeah, right. Like you get. Wow, that is amazing. Like you don't get a normal ticket for the Mariners for that.
Yeah. Like that's how much it was for to go to spring training if you wanted to get a seat.
Yeah,
literally. Like if you want to sit, you could get 2 tickets for that price in the grass,
Right.
and still have
That's
to
like
buy your beers.
That's like what the Brewers do up here on Sundays now. Brewers are charging $15 tickets on Sunday. With the tickets, you get a parking pass, 2 free hot dogs, and a free drink for $15.
that's amazing.
That is amazing.
I'll pay $60 to take my family to a game, and then I'll pay an extra $20 on food. But still, $60, I'm getting essentially 8 hot dogs, 4 drinks, and a parking pass, 4 tickets.
Yeah, no, that's a deal. Plus, you're gonna be 3.5 hours of entertainment.
And my kids won't sit for the whole thing anyway. So I mean, if they want to get up and walk around, I'm only paying $15. I'm like, shit, $15 to walk around. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
My daughter's 6 and my son's 10.
Oh, got you. They're still too young to.
More so, my 6-year-old will be the one that doesn't sit.
Yeah.
10-year-old will be fine for about 7 innings.
Yeah, I was gonna say once they get old enough, then you can send them out and just go ahead and walk around yourself. I don't need to be with you.
But where the seats are, though, the seats are in either the left field bleachers or the right field bleachers. So we always do the right field bleacher seats because right when you leave the actual seating area and you go in the concourse, there's a giant kids play area.
Oh, cool.
So I literally tell my kids to go play in the play area, and then I just walk to where the entrance of the play area is because then you're on the balcony still overlooking the field. So I can still sit there, watch the game from that balcony as my kids are playing behind me.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yep.
no, exactly.
Yes, exactly. We pay. It's $25 or $30 to park in our area too. So it's not like it's, it's always parking that gets you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
for a
the
Hawks
hard
game.
part with it.
For a Hawks game, you'll spend every bit of $100 plus just for parking.
Mm-hmm.
Or more so, like in Dallas, it was $120 to park.
Yep.
They keep raising the prices.
Yep.
It's like, damn, $120 to park. I ain't interested in paying that much money. That's just as much money it is to go see the game.
Right.
But that's the way it works sometimes.
And I believe, if I will let you know later, James, but I believe one of the Sunday games that I'm doing is the Phillies for that Brewer package.
Nice.
Huh. Well, you know what? I'm going to start going to baseball stadiums this year. I haven't been to many, but I'm going to start going this year. So maybe I'll put that on the list.
So I know we're doing the Yankees in April. We're doing the Cubs in June, the White Sox in May, and I believe it was the Phillies in August or September. I think of the 4 we're doing.
Yeah. So I'm going to be going to watch the Phillies in London.
London.
And then when I come back, I'm going to go see them up in Boston.
That'd be fun, Fenway.
I've never seen Fenway before. And then
Fenway's
July
gorgeous.
4th, I'm going to Wrigley.
There you go.
That'll be cool.
Wrigley's amazing now. I mean, obviously, I have a soft spot for Wrigley because I'm a Cubs fan. And I'm going to be biased and say, obviously, it is probably my favorite and probably the nicest stadium. But after all the renovations and everything that their owner has done around Wrigley Field is just simply amazing now for what they've done to a stadium that's so old. And what people don't realize, it's a historical landmark. You can't physically tear that stadium down, and you can't even remodel that stadium without the city's permission. It's not something that the team can even sign off on.
No, I can believe that. It's like
I mean, just with the ivy on the wall and just how the stadium is the only stadium that's not actually built in the city or the suburb. It is literally built in a neighborhood. It literally makes you think that you're at the Sandlot. It literally makes you think that you're in elementary school and you're coming home from school, showing up at the park to play baseball with your friends just because of how that stadium was designed and where it was put.
That's pretty cool.
It is kind of cool. Well, and I'll get to see it for the first time this year.
Yeah, it's fun. It's expensive as shit, obviously, because it's Chicago and everything in Chicago is expensive, but you'll enjoy it, especially if you actually take the time before the game to just kind of see like everything that they've done to that stadium just to kind of renovate it and all the stuff that they put in there, like the Circus Sportsbook Casino, the hotels, the giant park, and all the stuff that they've done outside. Like if you actually get there if you have a 1:00 game, gates open typically at 10:30. But if you get there at 9 o'clock and have like that hour and a half just to kind of walk around and see everything that they've done, it's so worth it. And you don't have to pay for parking. Take the train. That is what I will recommend. You pay $10 for the train ticket. It's round trip. It will drop you off on the corner of the main gate. So you literally get out of the train, you walk down the steps, you take a right, you cross the street, the main gate's right there.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that does sound pretty awesome. All right, cool. Well, now I know. So, like I said, I know that happens on July 4th, and if everything goes the way I expect it to, I will be there celebrating July 4th with garage beer. At least that's my hope.
Awesome.
In the meantime, we are at the top of the hour, so we did not get to see what a wing looks like from Buffalo Wild
what's
Wings.
with that? Why didn't you turn your camera on, man?
Because I am waiting outside in my car because there's a line outside of Buffalo Wild Wings right now because there's so many damn people here right
now.
Oh,
wow. See, everybody's out there for the March Madness. That's what it is.
Like I told my boss he better love me because I'm on vacation next week anyways. But I told him that this is the first time in 4 years that I'm actually working this day and tomorrow. Because usually I take vacation for these 2 days to watch all the games. So I'm like, you better love me because I'm going on vacation next week. And this is the first time in 4 years I'm actually working these 2 days.
So you have to write while you're eating the wings?
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I type, I don't write, but yeah.
Understood. Right. That's what I mean. You're not
yeah.
printing it out.
I mean, it's easy to do. Just, I write it as I see it, but like normally I'm just not even in the mental capacity to do anything today and tomorrow because there's so much games going on. So I'm like, the only reason why I'll work today and tomorrow is because I'm not here next week. So just love me.
Exactly. Yeah, Chris, we did start the show with that, and definitely we'll talk more about it as we find out more. But we definitely spoke a good half hour about that at the beginning of the show. So, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit tomorrow once we find out how much money the guy actually stole, or if he actually stole it, or if it was Ohtani's money who knew everything about already. Ohtani was making the bets. He says, I'm going to get 60 home runs, and then that's why he left, because he knew he was out $1 million after he wasn't going to hit 60 when he got hurt.
So what's your opinion on it?
I feel like he's.
I don't think he's as innocent as I don't think he's as innocent as he's making himself sound. I can say that much.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And the language barrier is going to help him cover this up.
It will not help him cover it up because he actually speaks fairly good English.
No comprende. That's exactly what I don't understand. I need a new interpreter.
I loved Shohei up until this offseason, and in a matter of months, he's gone from a player that I love to a player that I completely lost a lot of respect for. Just because of how he handled his free agent situation, just because of how he was able to basically get a free contract from the Dodgers for $700 million and defer the crap out of it for however long he wants to do it. Now you throw this into the equation, and you're seeing that his interpreter was like losing $4.5 million. That is literally 20% of what he's supposed to make this year in Los Angeles.
Yeah, right.
And now he's acting like, oh, I don't know any of this. Bullshit, you don't know where 20% of your freaking salary is going.
Yep. And on that note, we got to wrap it up so we don't overlap the next show, but we will definitely have to kick tomorrow's show off with this.
Again. So definitely, and StatGuy will be back watching more. Maybe he'll get the Buffalo Wild Wings a little earlier, so we'll get to see some wings. In the meantime, guys, Everybody, thank you very much for hanging with us today, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.